good to be back. Good to be back.
Good to have you back.
Good to be back with my buddy Cordell, too.
Yeah, we're back in the saddle today. Nolan McGraw's behind the glass with us as we continue to push forward in this offseason of both major sports, although spring training is underway. First team workout, I believe, is today as well down in Sarasota. So baseball season is right around the corner, and you just heard from Orioles GM Mike Elias and new manager Craig Albernaz talking about some of the young guys, specifically Coby Mayo, who, you know, where his arrow is pointed right now, I guess, is in flux. We don't really know where he's trending, but I think some of these injuries to the infield right now make it so that Coby Mayo has a chance to break camp with this roster right now. You heard Mike Elias there talking about him getting some work at first base, but obviously first base is a logjam right now. They go and sign Pete Alonso. Sam Basallo is expected to be a part of the first base shuffle between that DH and catcher, and you still got Ryan Mountcastle on the bench as well. But with Jordan Westburg expected to miss a little bit of time here with that oblique injury, that opens the door for Coby Mayo to go back to third base, which wasn't ideal for him. When we saw him up in Baltimore playing third base, he looked much more comfortable at first base. But it does wonder, and we're seeing a lot of trade. We've heard trade rumors around Coby Mayo all offseason, and Ken Rosenthal, the latest in The Athletic, is continuing to fuel those trade rumors around Coby Mayo. So I am wondering what the future holds for him. I do think he breaks camp with the team considering the injuries. But for guys like him and Ryan Mountcastle, like, I'd probably have a suitcase packed just in case you're making a move within the first month or two.
Now, Cordell, I did read yesterday on Twitter or whatever that Coby Mayo, they're talking a lot to the Pirates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I saw that as well.
And they wanted the Orioles wanted a top line, pitcher. And so I guess they haven't gotten there yet, but yeah, Pittsburgh is interested in Mayo. So it sounds like Mayo is the topic of discussion, quite a bit. And people and teams know that he's available.
And I think that's the issue is, like you just said, teams know he's available. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to be willing to pay top dollar, I don't think, for Coby Mayo right now, considering there are still question marks about how good Mayo can be at this level. His bat plays in AAA. We've seen that, but we haven't necessarily seen it play consistently at the major league level. I mentioned earlier, he's in flux defensively. He came up as a third baseman. That wasn't necessarily great. They moved him over to first base, and I did think as the year went on last year, he looked much more comfortable. But considering the way that the roster is constructed right now, first base, to me, doesn't really seem like a consistent option. I mean, Pete Alonso is playing almost every day. So I don't know where Coby Mayo...
Basallo.
Yeah, and even Mountcastle.
No room at the end.
So I think he's got to raise his value. He's got to get a chance to raise his value and show that he can be at least close to an everyday player.
Well, the thing and you have Elias on tonight. Is it tonight?
Thursday.
Thursday night. What would be interesting to ask him, because you're kind of playing, before games start, Cordell, is you're kind of playing a little bit with fire. You're gambling a little bit, okay? Because where is Mayo? What do teams think of Mayo right now? Okay, but if I wait and let him run through exhibition games and he does well, okay, then I may get what I'm asking for. But if he doesn't do well, then I'm not getting, so you're kind of, Elias is playing kind of a interesting game there.
Yeah, and I think they like Coby. I do think they want to give him opportunities to show that he can stick at this level. And again, I think it benefits them to give him that opportunity right now because you're trying to move him. Mountcastle, his value is where it is. I don't really see how they're going to be able to raise his value right now. I think everybody knows who he is.
Only if he starts hitting a bunch of home runs.
And he's not going to play consistently enough to really be able to show what his bat can do. I think he just needs a new change of scenery in general.
Well, the only thing is, Cordell, like if he comes out of the gates hitting a bunch of home runs, he needs to be hot early to get playing time. If he's struggling early, he ain't getting the playing time. So I mean, that's the pressure's on Mountcastle to deliver if he wants to get playing time. Otherwise, there's no reason to give it to him.
Yeah, and I mean, Pete Alonso ain't going to play his way off the field. No. I could promise you.
No, he's making way too much money.
I could promise you that. I mean, I think my standpoint on guys like Mayo has changed over time. I thought, because we don't get to really see a whole lot of them. I watched them a little bit in AAA, but I'm not going to sit here and say that I watched every game of the Norfolk Tides. But obviously, he had a premier bat at that level, and to see him struggle the way that he did when he came up wasn't new or something that you didn't expect. That's typically the case for a lot of these young guys. But what I did like was his commitment to work. And I talked about how he improved over at first base. I remember going out there and every day after we talked to the manager, you see Coby Mayo fielding ground balls every day. And I felt like that workload would increase each day. And I think you started to see that on the field. So I do think there's more to him than what we've seen. I just wonder if the Orioles will be able to get to see that version before teams are ready to start calling and giving them exactly what they're looking for. If you're looking for a frontline pitcher and they're looking for a top pitching prospect.
Right.
So
right.
Even that to give up a dynamic arm that's on the farm right now in today's pitching climate where these pitchers are falling off the tree and everybody's having shoulder surgery, everybody's having elbow issues. Pitchers cost so much these days. I just wonder if there is a version of Coby Mayo that gets anybody willing to pay that price.
I would say no, not right now. I mean, because what has he done to warrant that? You're asking, for a top pitching prospect. Okay, in return, I'm getting Coby Mayo, and I'm hoping he becomes, what he is capable of and what he's done in the minor leagues. I don't know that I'm getting that. Mm-hmm. And you want me to give, and that's why, Cordell, that's why they can't get a deal done. They're asking for too much right now, and he's got to come out and play great in the spring training. I get if they want the top pitching prospect, they got to play him. They got to play him in spring training, and they got to hope that he does well, and they got to hope that he doesn't look like, to me, defensively, kind of looks unathletic. He looks kind of gawky at times.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a big guy, and to bend down and pick up the ball and everything, to be nimble and agile.
He doesn't have nimble feet.
No. I do think he is still a work in progress. And look, it may benefit the Orioles to hold on to him a little bit. You never really know how these things will go. And we're already seeing guys getting hurt in the infield. Hopefully he himself is able to stay healthy. And speaking of that, Heston Kjerstad, he's another one that, I think people have a lot of questions about. Obviously, he's dealt with a ton of injuries throughout his time in Baltimore and throughout his time in the system. But the production, similar to Coby Mayo, we saw his bat play a lot in AAA. Haven't necessarily seen that, at least consistently, at the major league level. I don't really see Heston Kjerstad cracking this opening day roster right now. I don't know what I'm going beyond trade value with him because I don't think he has any.
None right now.
But I'm just wondering, are we going to see Heston Kjerstad get back to being a thing this year?
Well, Cordell, the thing that impressed me reading, like his story, what he's been doing and everything, he went and trained with Holliday's dad, and he changed his batting stance, kind of like Jackson had the hitch or in his giddy up. Yeah. So he's shortened that. And all reports thus far he's smacking the ball around pretty good, which means nothing, right now until they get into games and stuff. But it sounds like mentally he's in the right place, which gives him a chance. So you hope for the best, because that kid's been through a lot, a ton of adversity and stuff. So you would like for him to have some success. I'm cheering for the kid and stuff, because he did, in the offseason, he could have just said, screw this, and he's trying to do the things that he needs to get done to get back on track.